What is up, mortals? Season 1 Part 5 of What If Deku Had a Super Speed Quirk Part 5. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the story. A portal opened up, dropping two boys into the ruins of a building. The boy with blonde hair released a small explosion to slow his descent. The boy with red hair simply hit the floor and stood up. Shitty hair, we were sent to deal with some extras, Katsuki snarled. My name isn't Shitty Hair. It's Kirishima, Kirishima said in an excited tone. We need to get back to our classmates. So let's see who can defeat the most villains. You're on Shitty Hair, Katsuki said as a grin appeared on his face. A group of villains found the two boys and charged at them. The battle was extremely one-sided. It didn't take long for the boys to knock out the villains. I hope Deku gets to fight stronger opponents than these losers, Katsuki growled as he moved towards the door. That damn gateway bastard is underestimating us. I'm sure there are more villains in the area. Why are you so fixated on Midoriya? Kirishima asked out of curiosity. He's a childhood friend and rival, Katsuki grumbled. I wish he would stop telling me to be nicer to people. He means well, but it sounds like he's looking down on me. Well, I think you managed to take down 5 villains, and I got 4 of them, Kirishima said as he counted the villains that had burns on them. I think these villains were overconfident if they think they can kill All Might. There were a few that looked strong. That blue-haired villain that had hands on his arms and face looked pretty strong, Katsuki grumbled. I can't believe we got stuck with weaklings. The two started walking out of the room when another group of villains appeared. The two boys didn't waste too much time taking them down. However, another group of villains appeared. The villains slowly pushed the boys back into the room they were warped into. Another portal opened up and dropped a green-haired boy into the water. As the boy hit the water, he activated his quirk. The water around the boy started to boil as Quirk started to ionize the water. The boy, however, noticed something was different about his quirk. The boy made sure that the face mask he had was on tight. Thankfully, I made sure to include a rebreather in my costume design. I didn't think I would be using it like this, Izuku thought to himself as he noticed the change in his quirk. Strange, my quirk feels different. My quirk always felt more subdued than this. Maybe the water has something to do with it. I have been training more. Maybe I'm just noticing how strong I've gotten. A villain with a shark mutation quirk came racing at Izuku with his mouth open. Izuku was distracted by the change in his quirk that he didn't notice when Asui kicked the villain in the face. Asui then launched herself towards Izuku. Once Asui was next to Izuku, she tapped him on the shoulder and motioned for him to follow her. Izuku followed Asui to a boat. Midoriya, please deactivate your quirk. Ribbit, Asui asked once they were above water. Alright, why? Izuku asked as he deactivated his quirk. Asui wrapped her tongue around Izuku and tossed him onto the ship where another classmate was waiting. Asui then climbed up onto the side of the boat before jumping over the railing. Hey, Midoriya, how are you? Minda asked with a hint of fear. Do you think we should wait until All Might arrives? No, we don't know how long it will take for All Might to hear about this. We also don't know if All Might will be able to help us, Izuku started to mutter as he considered their options. I wonder what the villains want with All Might. We need to proceed with caution. Midoriya, stop it, Ribbit, Asui said as Izuku started to analyze the situation. You're not helping the situation, Midoriya. Ribbit, what quirks do you two have? Izuku asked. I can do anything a frog can. Ribbit, Asui said with a smile. I can even spit out my stomach and wash it. Ribbit, what is it, Midoriya? Ribbit? Well, the villains sent you to the water zone, Izuku said nervously. Your quirk works well in water, Asui. That must mean they knew we would be here but not what our quirks are. Midoriya, you can call me Tsuyu, Asui said happily. Do you think we should fight? Ribbit. These guys are villains, we can't possibly beat them, Minda fearfully said. What are you guys looking at? What kind of quirk do you have? Izuku asked sympathetically. Minda, do you want to become a hero? Ribbit, Asui asked. Of course, I want to be a hero. The ladies like a hero, Minda said excitedly as his focus shifted away from the villains swimming in the water. My quirk allows me to stick these balls to anything I want. The healthier I am, the longer they stick. The ball should stick for a whole day. Minda took a ball off of his head and stuck it to the side of the ship. Minda looked at both Izuku and Asui and saw their rather unimpressed looks. Minda then broke out in tears before the other two could respond. The ship then exploded, and an idea suddenly came to Izuku. Minda, focus. You can prove your hero material now, Izuku said nervously. I'm going to look around the ship to see if I can find the parts I need. Minda, you and Asui watch the villains. Midoriya, what are you looking for? Minda asked. Something explosive that would drag the villains into one location, Izuku stuttered. This way, we can use your quirk to trap them. After 5 minutes, Izuku was able to find the supplies that he needed. He very carefully made the explosive. Asui, I'm going to use my quirk and jump away from the boat, Izuku said nervously. Once I throw this, grab Minda and jump. If you can grab me as you go by. Izuku activated his quirk and noticed that his quirk still seemed to be more powerful. He grabbed the explosive and jumped into the air. Once Izuku was over most of the villains, he threw the explosive. Asui grabbed Minta in her left hand and jumped off the boat. As the water started dragging the villains into one location, Minta started throwing the balls into the center of the water. Asui stuck her tongue and grabbed Izuku as he deactivated his quirk. Over in a ruined building, Bakugo released another explosion from the palms of his hands, taking down another group of villains. Kirishima used his quirk to harden his arms as another villain charged at him with a metal pipe. Kirishima blocked the villain's attack before knocking the villain out with a punch to the face. "We should try and meet up with the rest of our classmates," Kirishima said as he started to catch his breath. "Shitty hair, I'm going after that portal bastard," Katsuki growled as looked at Kirishima. "That warp bastard is the only way for the villains to get in or out of here. We will put the villains on the defensive if we catch him." "I wasn't expecting you to be calm or rational," Kirishima said thoughtfully. "Usually, you're angry and calling people extras." "Shut up, shitty hair. I'm always calm and rational," Katsuki snarled at Kirishima. A villain with a chameleon-like quirk attacked Katsuki from behind and camouflaged. Despite being unable to see him, Katsuki grabbed the villain by the head and set off a small explosion. Once the villain was knocked out, Katsuki and Kirishima started to leave the room. "I can't believe one of those shitty extras was able to destroy one of my gauntlets," Katsuki grumbled as he looked at his right arm, which was missing the gauntlet. "Hopefully, we get back to the others before the nerd does." "Why are you so competitive with him?" Kirishima asked curiously. "He was one of the few people I could spar with when we were younger," Katsuki grumbled. Despite how weak his quirk was in the beginning, Deku was willing to try and compete with me. "We should train together sometime," Kirishima said as he started to see the bond between Katsuki and Izuku. Izuku, Asui, and Minta finished off a villain group that avoided being caught near the ship. Once they were able to stand properly, they slowly made their way back to the entrance. The first thing they saw was the backs of a villain with blue hair and the villain who had teleported them. As they got closer, they saw a strange creature sitting on top of their teacher. The creature was holding up their teacher's head. Blood was running down the middle and left side of Aizawa's face. Shigaraki looked at Aizawa and then sighed. "Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called We The Celestial Naruto What If. We The Celestial Naruto What If mainly focuses on our Naruto What If series. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. It seems that the symbol of peace isn't coming," Shigaraki complained as he started to turn towards the three students behind him. "I'm going to bring that ego of his down a notch." Shigaraki lunged at Asui and grabbed her face with his left hand. Shigaraki let go of Asui and looked back at Aizawa. Aizawa was staring intently at Shigaraki until the strange creature shoved his head into the ground. The force of the impact left a crater in the ground. "You are so cool, Eraserhead," Shigaraki menacingly said as he turned his attention back to the three students. "Perhaps you three can bring All Might here with your deaths." "Namu, hold Eraserhead there." The only response the Namu gave was shifting its head downwards to look at Aizawa. Everything slowed down for Izuku as adrenaline started pumping throughout his body. Izuku's body started moving before he even realized what was going on. Izuku activated his quirk without a second thought. Asui started moving to her left as she grabbed Minta, who was paralyzed by fear. Asui was about to grab Izuku with her tongue when she noticed a sudden increase in the temperature near Izuku. As Izuku sent through a right punch at Shigaraki, he saw that his hand was releasing electricity that was tinted green. As Kurogiri went to try and use a portal to move Izuku's punch out of the way, Katsuki sent an explosive blast into Kurogiri, forcing him to move back to avoid the explosion. Kirishima got there moments later and saw Izuku hitting Shigaraki as Asui moved away. Izuku hit Shigaraki in the face and then grabbed him and sprinted away from the water, all while Shigaraki started to feel his skin burning. In a few seconds, Izuku moved behind the stairs as a faint sound of thunder could be heard. "Excuse me, young heroes, but I must help Tamura out," Kurogiri said politely. "I'm kindly asking you to grab Tamura and leave this facility." "Warp Gate, do you really think we can just let you villains leave after everything that has transpired?" Katsuki yelled as he started to prepare another explosion. "Shitty hair, go help our teacher. I suppose heroes in training would be forced to try and capture us," Kurogiri politely said as he started to summon a portal around him. "However, I will not hesitate to defend myself." Kirishima stood still for a moment as he tried to figure out where Aizawa was. Once Kirishima was able to bring himself to look at the Namu, he noticed that Aizawa was pinned to the ground by the Namu. "Kirishima, I need help with Asui," Minta said as he started to panic. She stopped moving shortly after Midoriya attacked Shigaraki. "Damn it," Kirishima yelled in frustration as he went to help Minta with Asui. Katsuki unleashed a series of explosions, forcing Kurogiri to use the portal to redirect the attack away from him. As Kurogiri was getting ready to encase Katsuki in a portal, the building entrance was forced open. Standing at the top of the stairs was All Might. "Have no fear, for I am here," All Might said without his trademark smile. "Make sure to get 13 out of the building." All Might then rushed down the stairs and sent a Texas smash into the head of the Namu. As the Namu was punched off of Aizawa, All Might grabbed Aizawa and moved Aizawa behind him. All Might then raced after the Namu. At the same time, Izuku and Shigaraki were starting to reach their respective limits. Izuku's left arm was completely useless as the upper arm looked like it began to decay. Izuku was also starting to sweat heavily. Shigaraki's right arm was covered in burns along with his upper body. "You're pretty tough for a hero in training," Shigaraki grumbled in annoyance. "You made a big mistake by challenging me. Why don't you just give up?" Izuku said with more confidence than he felt. "You know you can't win. You're at your limit, and the pros will be here soon enough. If I'm going down, then I'm bringing you with me," Shigaraki menacingly said as he got ready to attack. "I won't let it end this way." Shigaraki rushed forward with his left hand outstretched and tried to grab Izuku's face. Izuku felt tears roll down his face as he activated his quirk and moved to his left. Izuku then kicked Shigaraki in the ribs. Shigaraki let out a gasp of pain as he tried to take a swipe at Izuku's foot. Izuku pulled his foot back and tried to take advantage of the opening. Shigaraki turned towards Izuku and took a few steps back. Shigaraki then grimaced as he tried to move his right arm. Shigaraki then charged forward with both arms outstretched. Izuku summoned up the last of his strength and activated his quirk. Izuku sent a straight right punch into Shigaraki's jaw as Shigaraki struck Izuku in the chest, while trading blows with the Namu. All Might noticed Asui appeared to have some minor burns on her arms and legs. All Might noticed that the area seemed to get quieter suddenly. A thought suddenly popped into his head. "Where is young Midoriya?" All Might asked as he gritted his teeth as the Namu punched him in the stomach. "Sir, we lost sight of him once he went behind the stairs," Kirishima said as he grabbed Aizawa. "He was being a badass and trying to protect his classmates." All Might let out a grunt of pain as the Namu hit his injury. Having spent months training Izuku, All Might knew all too well the limitation of Izuku's quirk. All Might thought about the hardships that his students must have endured while he wasn't there and pushed himself beyond his limit. All Might refused to let the situation get out hand any further. Each time All Might threw a punch into the Namu, it contained more than 100% of his power. All Might slowly started pushing the Namu back. Kurogiri watched as the momentum in the fight shifted in favor of All Might. All Might built sent the villain flying backwards. All Might sprinted up to the Namu and punched the creature into the ground. As the Namu got up, All Might pulled his right hand, plus Ultra. All Might shouted as he punched the creature so hard it was blasted out of the building, leaving a hole in the ceiling. All Might then looked at Kurogiri and started to move towards Kurogiri. Realizing that he couldn't beat All Might, Kurogiri tried to open a portal to escape through. Katsuki let off a series of explosions as Kurogiri opened the portal. Kurogiri decided to send All Might and Katsuki behind the stairs so he could make his escape. "It appears you are not as weak as the rumor indicate, All Might," Kurogiri politely said as he trapped All Might and Katsuki in a portal. "It seems that I returned for Tamura." As Kurogiri sent the two away from him, Kurogiri decided to collect the Namu. It bothered Kurogiri that he failed his master in Shigaraki, but there wasn't much he could do with All Might being there. Kurogiri warped himself to the location of the hole. Once Kurogiri was sure he knew which direction the Namu was sent flying, he quickly started to check the surrounding area. Kurogiri noticed that the police were surrounding the facility. It took Kurogiri 5 minutes to find the Namu. Once Kurogiri sent the Namu back to his master, he went back to USJ to see if he could find and retrieve Shigaraki. The moment the All Might and Katsuki were left behind by the portal, they looked around to see where they were. Katsuki was fuming at the villain choosing to send them somewhere else instead of fighting. "That bastard. I can't believe he chose to run instead of fighting," Katsuki snarled as he looked around for the villain. "They chose to attack us here and try to kill us, and the moment it looks bad, their warp gate leaves. Young Bakugo, our main priority is to find out where young Midoriya is," All Might calmly said as he looked around in an attempt to find Izuku. "I doubt the villain will leave his team behind. There is also the fact that he could break the villains out later if he wanted to. If he gets caught, he can't help the other villains." "Fine, it doesn't mean I have to be happy about it," Katsuki said as he started to search for Izuku. Katsuki decided to split up from All Might. Katsuki couldn't help worry that the villain had killed his friend. As despair started to set in, Katsuki found an area that was covered in scorch marks. Katsuki sent up an explosion to let All Might know that he found something. Within a few seconds, All Might landed next to Katsuki and looked at the surroundings. "Well done, young Bakugo," All Might said, sounding relieved. "We are this much closer to finding young Midoriya." "Why would that damn nerd do something so reckless?" Katsuki asked out of frustration. "A hero's body starts to move before their mind even realizes that they are moving," All Might explained happily. "It appears that, like young Midoriya, you are well on your way to becoming a true hero." "Thank you, sir," Katsuki said in amazement. After walking for a few more seconds, several gunshots went off. Both looked around nervously before seeing a person dressed as a cowboy with a gun in his left hand. "The pros have arrived," Ida shouted. A moment after that, a scream was heard coming from the stairs. All Might turned his focus back to where he was walking. After another few seconds of walking, he paused as he saw the situation. Izuku was face down on the ground. His breathing was shallow but steady. All Might noticed that Izuku's left arm seemed to have some injuries. Katsuki was so distracted by the pro's arrival that he didn't notice that All Might had stopped walking. "Young Bakugo, release an explosion," All Might said as he looked past Izuku. "It appears that young Midoriya will need some medical attention." "What do you?" Katsuki trailed off as he saw Izuku. Katsuki ran over to Izuku as fast as he could. Once he was next to Izuku, he set off another explosion hoping that someone would notice it and come over. Katsuki quickly turned Izuku over and noticed that there was some decay on Izuku's upper body. All Might walked past Katsuki and called Katsuki over to him. "It seems that we found the villain that young Midoriya fought," All Might said, sounding relieved. "These burns look pretty bad. I suppose we don't have to worry about the villain waking up anytime soon." Katsuki turned around and noticed the villain for the first time. The villain had several burns along his right arm. As Katsuki examined the villain, he noticed more burns along the villain's ribs and upper body. "Did the nerd do that?" Katsuki nervously said as he continued to examine the villain. "Young Midoriya likely didn't do this on purpose," All Might calmly said. Young Bakugo set off another explosion. "We need to make sure that the people at the stairs see us. Make the explosion big enough to attract their attention." "Yes, sir," Katsuki said as he stood up and set off the largest explosion he could muster. "Relax, young Bakugo," All Might calmly said, trying to relax Katsuki. "The villains have been defeated, you can relax now." As Katsuki started to relax, a man covered in a strange mist and wearing a nice suit watched from afar. With the police and the heroes swarming the place, he couldn't risk being seen. He watched as the heroes quickly brought over some stretchers. Before he would try and rescue Shigaraki, he would first confirm what condition Shigaraki was in. Hirajiri watched as the green-haired boy who attacked Shigaraki was loaded onto a stretcher and brought to the building entrance. Hirajiri continued to watch as another stretcher was brought down. This time it was carrying a blue-haired person on it. "I will have to consult with Master over the best course of action," Hirajiri muttered to himself as he continued to watch the situation. "Given Tamura's injuries, I won't be able to rescue him without putting his life on the line. I'm going to move in closer and see if I can overhear what they plan to do with Tamura." After 10 minutes, All Might was talking to a police officer in a trench coat and a fedora. Hirajiri carefully got closer so that he could overhear the conversation. "Most of the students escaped with minimal injuries. One has a few serious injuries, and the other one is in critical condition," Tsukachi said calmly. "What about the villain who needed medical attention?" All Might asked. "He is currently in critical condition as well. We expect him to make a full recovery," Tsukachi said calmly. "Due to his injuries, we will keep him in a hospital. We will also keep him under surveillance for the next 3 weeks. Thank you for the information, Tsukachi," All Might said with a smile as he gave his friend a friendly pat. "I'm going to head back to UA and check on the 2 injured students. Thank you for your hard work, All Might," Tsukachi said as he returned the pat. Hirajiri waited until All Might left before opening a portal. Now that he knew that Shigaraki wasn't going to prison until he healed, Kirigiri decided to report to his master what had transpired. "This victory won't last forever," Kirigiri said to no one in particular as he stepped through the portal. "I will have to ask Master what the plan is for rescuing Tamura." With that, Kirigiri closed the portal behind him. Kirigiri stood behind a bar as he waited for someone to contact him. He knew that the person hearing the report would not be pleased with the most recent development. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. On behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer of this video and editors for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have a fantastic day.